Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Weird World Podcast. My name's Carrie.
My name's Erin.
All right. My name's Dean.
Hi, Dean.
Hi.
Erin.
Hi.
Do you want to have some intro banter?
No.
I know how much you love it. Well, so Dean, what are you gonna tell us about today?
Talking about dinosaurs.
Ooh.
Dinosaurs that died off 65 million years ago, as we all know, right? You all taught that in school, weren't you?
I don't remember how
Remember,
many
there's
millions
a meteor
of years.
wrecked the
but-
Yucatan Peninsula. Boom, dinosaurs are all gone.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do recall that part,
Okay. Well,
except for birds
Well,
yes, that's true.
and gigantic lizards
about
that look like dinosaurs.
That's true. Only dinosaurs as birds remain alive. Lizards are not dinosaurs.
Alligators and crocodiles look dinosaur-like.
But they're not. I'm sorry to inform you. No matter how much you insist they look like them, they're not.
Who knows for sure?
Scientists.
paleontologist.
All of them. But if it's true, Carrie, that dinosaurs were extinct 65 million years ago, try to explain this story, will you? It's 1919. Someone named Mr. LePage told a local museum director in Fungarumi, that's in what was then the Belgian Congo,
Oh.
of this amazing adventure. He's out hunting. He ran into a massive creature that immediately charged him. LePage took a shot, as you would, and he fled. The beast pursued him.
Ooh.
But LePage had apparently more staying power because apparently the beast eventually just let him go, went back to his business. When he was a safe distance away, LePage turned back and looked with his binoculars and was astonished to see that the creature that had been chasing him was about 24 feet long, with a pointed snout topped by two tusks, possibly horns, and another short horn over the nostril.
Wait, he didn't see this huge beast when he shot at it?
Saw something big in the bush, took a shot. That's how you do it when you're a white guy in Africa in 1919.
So it was like
sounds about white.
Yeah,
covered by shrubbery.
I don't know,
Okay. Big,
And-
tall shrubbery.
but apparently so.
Okay.
It had horse teeth and cloven hooves and a big scaly hump over its shoulder. Later, LePage heard it rampage through the town of the village of Fungarumi and destroyed all the huts and killed several villagers.
Goodness.
Also, if dinosaurs no longer exist, you naysayers, how would you explain the story of Mr. Gapel? He was returning to Belgium from darkest Africa. I'm sorry, Mr. Gapel told this story when he got back to Belgium from the dark continent. He, while he was in Africa, had spotted the tracks of
Wait.
something.
That sounds racist.
It's an old saying, Carrie. It was purposeful. They used to call it the dark
It was
continent.
probably
You never heard that?
actually very sunny compared to
Yeah.
how we call Europe the dark
Yeah.
continent.
I didn't make up that term.
We don't have to.
Just so you know.
You don't have to continue it.
Okay. It was sort of a never mind.
Called the
Okay.
fun continent.
Fun continent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The village was called Fungarumi.
Ooh.
That's true. That's true. That's a
Well-
great point. That's a sound logic.
Thanks.
Case in point.
Capel had spotted the tracks of something he could not identify, and he followed them for 12 miles.
Wow.
Finally caught up with it.
That's a lot
and
of
he
miles.
Saw, what?
That's a lot of miles.
Yeah, it is. It's
On
12.
foot?
Of course. Saw you got around Africa.
Scooter.
He
Moped.
had a Vespa. a swamp Vespa.
I don't know.
What he saw ahead of him, though, was sort of a rhinoceros-like creature, but not. It had scales instead of skin. It had a thick, powerful tail, a horn on its snout, and a humped back. Again,
Sounds familiar.
it does. Gapel naturally shot at the creature, but it retreated into a nearby swamp and got away. So I ask you, if dinosaurs don't exist, how do you explain these stories of Mr. Lepage and Mr. Gapel? Because they, I say to you, saw living dinosaurs in Africa.
Drugs.
Yeah.
Do they have?
Psychedelics.
Yeah, Rome and the
Peyote or-
African, Belgian Congo. You don't get all high.
What's that?
What? Peyote in Africa?
What's that other? That,
I say it like John
Ayahuasca.
Cleese.
yeah, ayahuasca.
Peyote? No,
Ketamine.
it was not ayahuasca or ketamine. It was a living dinosaur. But the dinosaur's tales in Africa go back a little further.
Yeah, to the Triassic.
But later than that, but further than 1919. The most famous African supposed living dinosaur is the Mokele-Mbembe.
Ooh.
It means the one who stops the flow of rivers, which is pretty efficient for syllables.
That's
I
a
think.
really good birth control name or something.
Mokele-Mbembe is a birth control name?
Yes, the one, or they should name that for a vasectomy procedure. They should name it the Mokele-Mbembe, one
No.
who stops the vas deferens river.
I couldn't disagree more. That story all started in 1909. Carl Hagenbeck, he was a famed wildlife hunter and really a kind of a gatherer. He'd gather things for zoos and exhibits back in Europe. He'd gather all these then exotic animals from Africa. And he traveled throughout Africa extensively. In his 1909 autobiography called Beast and Men, Hagenbeck claimed that two different sources had told him there was a creature like a, quote, half elephant, half dragon living in Rhodesia, which is now, anyone?
Congo,
Zimbabwe.
very close.
Sort of. Naturalist named Joseph Menzies, who was active in the area, he told Hagenbeck that he had also heard such stories and thought it must be some kind of living dinosaur, quote, seemingly akin to the Brontosaurus. Hans Schomburg, he was a German big game hunter, and he also made wildlife films. He told Hagenbeck that when he had been traveling around Lake Benguela, I mangled that. When he had been traveling around Lake Benguelu, I think.
I'm sure that's exactly it.
I would not know.
It was in this kind of in the middle of a huge rainforest water basin in what's now Zambia. He noticed there were no hippos in a certain area. Schomburg did, right? So he asked his native guides, and
Suspicious lack of hippos in this area.
seriously, there really.
I
should be
too
hippos.
noticed that in our local area. There is a suspicious lack of hippos.
It's odd there's no hippos along the American River. Figured so he asked the local guides, and the guides say, "Oh yeah, there's a creature here in this part of the lake that kills hippos, so they don't come here anymore."
Oh, there you have it.
We're done.
Yeah.
Okay.
hard evidence.
Let's wrap it up. Where can you
Yeah.
reach us? Yet another German, a guy named Paul Gratz, who's sort
Wait,
of
can I ask you a question?
yeah.
Do hippos have natural predators?
No.
So yeah. That's my case.
Gary has proven her point. She knows what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
Arteriosclerosis is their
Yeah, that's
top
it.
Okay.
predator. They smoke a lot. Hippos do smoke.
Yeah.
It's one of their main vices.
Yeah, it is. This guy, Paul Gratz, was sort of a German adventurer. He reported in 1911 that he said much of Lake Benguela was also free of crocodiles. And that was because of the Nsanga. This was a creature, he said, that the natives were terrified of. They described it as something sort of crocodile-like, but with smooth skin and toes with claws. Gratz took it to be some kind of a saurian dinosaur, and he went hunting for it, but all he found was some strips of skin that locals alleged were the skin of an Nsanga. He found those on an island in the middle of Lake Benguelu. I'm going to pronounce it different every time.
Okay.
Gratz then went home and he bragged about his trip in Africa, right? And he essentially implied that was the first Westerner to ever be in the whole Lake Benguela area. He had blazed all these trails. So some folks who had been there for years wrote to a colonial newspaper and said, no, I personally, the writer, lived there for years and I hung out with the other Europeans all the time, and there are dozens of Europeans have been traipsing about Lake Benguela for years, so you're a dick. So he had a little bit of a credibility problem. Still, he was another European, because that's all we can trust, who had said they had seen a dinosaur in Africa or something like a dinosaur.
Well, did any of those many Europeans who lived in Lake Benguela area for years corroborate
I'm going to say no.
the stories of the, what is it called?
I don't
The
have
Nsanga?
access to their journals, so I don't know for a fact, but I'm going to say no. Otherwise, they probably would have mentioned that.
Huh, okay.
Typically, you mention if you saw a dinosaur in Africa. I think you go
Dear
ahead. You're gonna-
diary. Today, Rebecca talked to me. Also, I saw a dinosaur.
Well, they might not have characterized it as a dinosaur,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Is this going to happen the entire time? He's going to make these weird But these, well, your story's full of holes. In a short time, these stories kind of got back to the European and North American press, and they became the sense that there was something at least dinosauric living and alive right now in Africa. And it became a huge media sensation, covered all over the world. The Washington Post, in fact, in 1911, had a headline that said, Brontosaurus still lives. And by about this time, they were appearing almost semi-regularly in newspapers. They were just, oh, hey, a dinosaur is spotted, or there might be dinosaurs in Africa. It became a big deal. It became kind of a thing. In 1913, a German army captain named Ludwig Freiherr von Stein-zu-Lasnitz, didn't make that up, was surveying the German colony of Cameroon. Yes, I said German colony. Germany had colonies on both sides of Africa at the time.
White people just had to have their hands in everything.
They sure did. Mm-hmm. Cameroon is in West Central Africa, by the way. He told a German writer, Willy Ley, I don't know if you've heard of him or not, Ley, I think I'm pronouncing that right, Willy Ley was one of the earliest writers in what we now call cryptozoology. But he wrote about it in the 1930s and 40s and 50s. Some of the stories, von Stein-zu-Lasnitz told Willy Ley some of the stories he had come across while he was exploring around Africa. And he said one was of a giant reptile-like creature called the Mokele-Mbembe that lived in the rainforest. He told Ley that the story had come from several sources, and all of them apparently described the same creature. So here's von Stein's. I'm going to call him Ludwig. Here's Ludwig's description to Willy Ley that Willy Ley wrote in his 1959 book, Exotic Zoology. Quote, the animal is said to be of a brownish gray color with smooth skin. Its size is approximately that of an elephant, at least that of a hippopotamus. It is said to have a long and very flexible neck and only one tooth, but a very long one. Some say it's a horn.
The fuck?
A few spoke about a long, muscular tail like that of an alligator. Canoes coming near it are said to be doomed. The animal is said to attack the vessels at once and kill the crews, but without eating the bodies.
So just a dick?
Just a dick.
It's hard to eat bodies with one tooth.
Well,
Yeah.
presumably it had other teeth. It could have been a horn. He was clear about that. Quote, I'm continuing the quote. The creature is said to live in the caves that have been washed out by the river and the clay of its shores at sharp bends. It is said to climb the shores even at daytime in search of food. Its diet is said to be entirely vegetable. The preferred food is a kind of liana with large white blossoms with a milky sap and apple-like fruits. At the Sasambo River, I was shown a path said to have been made by the animal in order to get at its food. The path was fresh, but since there were too many tracks of elephants, hippos, and other large mammals, it was impossible to make out a particular spoor with any amount of certainty. So he said he saw a path and heard many stories of this sauropod dinosaur-like creature.
But
long
not-
neck, big tail.
But not quite as large as
Nowhere near as
we would
large
think,
as you
yeah.
would think, no. This seeming dinosaur was also mentioned by Alfred Aloysius Smith. Say it. Great name.
Dude, it's amazing.
fantastic name.
That's a great name. He was an English trader, and he was working in Africa in the late 19th century. He was in Gabon, what's now Gabon, south of the Cameroon. He heard something called the jagunin, or giant diver. He said, quote, it comes out of the water and devours people. There's also something called the Amali that Smith felt was the same beast. He said the Amali left footprints he had seen himself that were, quote, about the size of a good frying pan in circumference and 3 claws instead of 5.
What? Huh? A good frying pan?
Yeah, think giant
shitty
elephant
frying
tracks,
pan.
kind of. Yeah, a quality stainless steel frying pan.
Good
Very-
cast iron.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cast iron. Cast
So
iron's even
big.
better. Yeah. I don't know why. Have you have a problem with that? How about good size frying pan? Does that make you feel better?
That's fine, but I don't know why they can't use inches and feet.
Good. You're just going to pick
They
holes
Or
like
a
on
centimeter.
everything.
They like flavor in
a
their
Yeah.
description.
He's
Not
saying
accuracy.
it's like a big ass frying pan, the size of a big. Everybody knew what a big ass frying pan size was. He didn't need to be explained in inches.
So we're not alleging that all these people are describing the same kind of animal,
Well, these last ones seem like they are.
but
These-
except these ones devour people. And
yes, and the other one does not.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Good point.
It gets scarier the wider you get.
Yes, fact.
The locals are just like, they eat the hippos and shit. And then it's like, oh,
No, remember the locals were terrified of that other one.
because they eat
So.
the hippos. Well, I mean, if you eat hippos, you're going to eat people. Because
True.
hippos
True.
don't eat people, but they will kill people.
Yes, they
Do
will.
they
They
eat
do.
people?
They don't
No.
eat them, no, but they will kill them.
Yeah, I don't think they eat people.
a lot. In fact, right? Hippos kill more people than anything
They're
in
kind of
Africa.
dicks. Yeah.
Not here in America.
They're
not.
just angry all the time.
Yeah, they rarely kill people in the United States. Rarely.
once or
Rarely.
twice.
We stay away from them. There was kind of a lull in these dinosaur tales throughout the rest of the 20th century and the mid 20th century. Once in a while, some Euro would come back with a story of something that had kind of a long neck and it couldn't explain what it was. But otherwise, it wasn't a whole lot going on. Then, however, the father of cryptozoology, Bernard Heuvelmans,
He sure does make a lot of
He absolutely
appearances in our
does.
podcasts.
he took up the cause, studying and advocating for the existence of an African dinosaur in the 1950s. And in 1978, he released a book called Les Derniers Dragons d'Afrique, which, as you know, means the last African dragons.
That's what I was going to say.
Well, I didn't even know that, so I just
Sounds like a great band name.
that would be a very
Yeah,
bad
it
name.
does.
Yeah, the last African dragons. Yeah, be careful if you're white. Maybe
Yeah,
maybe don't
no,
do that.
not, you can't do that if you're
Yeah,
white.
Yeah, probably not a good call.
If your name's like Trevor, stay back.
I'm Trevor. This is Noah. This is our drummer
go.
Sebastian. 1, 2, 3. The cover of his book shows this long neck sauropod in the rainforest being fed these apple-like fruits by a native female, looking all sexy and that.
Of course.
And there's a long neck sauropod in the rainforest. I'm sorry, she's feeding this long neck sauropod. There's also a gigantic snake almost surrounding her, kind of crawl, but not seemingly threatening her, like just hanging out. And
Vibing.
hovering above her is a pterodactyl.
Oh, good Lord.
I'm not at all sure what the message was. I'm going to give Bernard the benefit of the doubt and say the publisher came up with that one and just said, make it crazy. We got to sell this shit. So what exactly is a Mokele-Mbembe? Let's just kind of recap. If you've noticed, the accounts differ, but generally speaking, it's big. It's, at least in more modern times, it's got up to more like 30 feet long.
Oh,
So note that. It has a long neck and kind of that long muscular tail. The general build has really become more like a classic sauropod. Think, Apatosaurus or Diplodocus, only miniaturized, relative to those guys anyway.
right.
Some speak of that single horn on his head, or maybe tusk or teeth, and that it kills elephants. It's been said to kill hippos as well. It certainly lives in or near water. Always, it is consistently in or near water, which, by the way, is like we used to think sauropods lived. We now know better. Others say it builds these caverns or tunnels in the sides of lakes and rivers. Whatever the specifics are, though, the Mokele-Mbembe is very clearly some kind of a living dinosaur in Africa, and it's alive right now as we speak.
When was the last sighting of
Well,
one?
let's talk about some modern encounters.
Well, okay.
All right.
Wait, are they saying there's just one?
No, of course not. There's got to
Oh.
be a breeding
So
population.
I think there's like a pocket of like dinosaurs out there.
At least one,
A herd.
set of them. At least a herd. I don't know if herd's not the
herd.
word.
Mokele-Mbembe.
They've never been seen more than one at a time, so let's not go with herds. But there'd have to be more than one. It's like a Loch Ness monster. There's got to be a breeding population. So obviously, if people think there's dinosaurs out there, someone's going to go looking for them, right?
Yes.
Numerous expeditions in relatively modern times have gone into the middle of the African rainforest looking for the Mokele-Mbembe. You might not have heard of them. I have, because I like this shit and have for a long time. The hunting grounds are just kind of the vast, often impenetrable, swampy rainforest areas of Central Africa, such as the Lukula region. That's in Congo, the country of the Congo, not the Zaire, which is also called Congo because they are dicks to each other, and they have two countries called Congo just to confuse us.
Like Georgia. Why are they gonna be state and
Well,
the country?
that's easier to tell apart. These are right next to each other.
Okay, a little bit more confusing, but also inconvenient.
Yes, it is.
We've
It is.
got Virginia and West Virginia.
That's easy. That's very well. You
North
can not tell
Dakota
the
and
north and
South
south.
Dakota.
Okay, that's actually quite simple. If they just call East Congo and West Congo, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But they don't. They're both Congo. It's just not. And the big one used to be called Zaire. Just stick with Zaire. It's a cool name.
Yeah, that is a cool name.
Damn it! There,
Fuck.
I've solved it. So anyway,
Big Congo, Little Congo.
yeah, I don't think they'd appreciate that.
Old Congo, New Congo.
Not gonna work. The Kula region is about 80% unexplored. It's 66,000 square kilometers. That's 25,000 square miles. That's about the size of Sri Lanka or West Virginia, as you just mentioned. So that's almost completely. I think of West Virginia was mostly unexplored and was kind of swampy rainforest
I wish.
type terrain.
Wait. Unexplored by anybody or
No, I mean by But of course,
No,
when
of
people say
course.
unexplored, they mean white people.
Yeah.
There's no
Okay, so
Columbus hasn't
people
gone
live
yet.
there.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
Okay.
This is from the white people lens. So
Yes.
if white people weren't there, then it doesn't matter.
What? We haven't explored it, mapped it? It doesn't really
There's
count.
tons of people living there, though. They've been there for a really long
Yes,
time.
but we have not met them and mapped them and sold them Starbucks or Wendy's, so it's unexplored.
Okay.
The larger Congo River Basin as a whole is 1.5 million square miles. That's about half the size of the contiguous United States. That's not all completely unexplored, but still, it's a vast, vast area that's been little explored by Westerners and mapped and such like.
So for a dinosaur, prime real estate.
Prime real estate.
That's where they want to be.
The explorations of Roy Mackal have drawn the most attention, as I don't need to tell you guys.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. You've heard no? He's the former University of Chicago biology professor and longtime Loch Ness researcher and searcher.
Oh.
He started out doing Loch Ness in the 60s and 70s, and he didn't
Decided to
find
branch
it.
out.
And he decided to branch out to Africa and look for the Mokele-Mbembe there. So he goes in the Lukula swamps and with University of Arizona ecologist and cryptozoologist named Richard Greenwell, as well as a biologist from Congo named Marceline Agnagna. No idea if I phoneticized
I'm
that.
sure he's right on.
The first expedition that they went on was in 1980, and it found really nothing more than sort of local legends, right?
Wow.
The legends they gathered spoke of this large creature in the waters of the vast swamp, that it lived in the water, right?
Yeah.
So they went back in 1981, and they also failed to find a dinosaur, but they did
What?
bring back more supposedly firsthand stories of encounters with the creature. Mackal felt the stories were very consistent, and he thought they were describing a long neck sauropod-like dinosaur surviving in the swamps of Africa.
Can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
We're up to the 80s.
Yes.
Has no one ever managed to get a snapshot?
Yeah.
We'll talk about
Yeah.
that. We'll talk
Okay.
about that in a minute.
Not even a Polaroid.
But no. By this time, absolutely not. No pictures.
We already, I mean,
Did
we
anyone
have
bring
some
a camera?
Bigfoot footage right now. And he's barely been on the scene. So, catch up, Mokele-Mbembe.
Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing. You need to be a little more photogenic. Mokele.
Video killed the radio star. Am I right?
It tracks. So coincidentally or not, Mackal and Company also brought back stories of 3 other possible living dinosaurs in this part of Central Africa. So not just the Mokele-Mbembe. They also found stories of the Emila Ntuka. That was said to be something like a Centrosaurus, which is about an 18-foot, 5.5 meter Triceratops, but only has one horn. So it's a Uniceratops. Unitops. But they found stories about that they thought were true. They also found stories of the Mbilu. They liked it so much they named it thrice. And that looked a bit like a Kentrosaurus, which was a kind of stegosaurus, and it was said to be about 15 feet, 4.5 meters long. Finally, they've heard stories of the Nguma Monene, and that was something like a giant lizard or possibly a giant snake. So they brought back not just the Mokele-Mbembe, but the Mbilu, the Emila Ntuka, and the Nguma Monene. And I am nailing every one of those pronunciations.
You must have been practicing.
No, I haven't, actually. And I didn't look any of them up, so I'm hoping that's right. Oh, I
bless.
didn't do on YouTube and type
How to
in
pronounce.
Nguma Monene. So Mackal wrote about his adventures in 1987 with a book called A Living Dinosaur, ? In Search of Mokele-Mbembe, which, if you've noticed, that makes that 2 sentences in a title, and that's kind of greedy, Roy.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
Punctuation. You gotta
Yeah, you don't do a
cut it
question
out.
mark. in
Cut
the
it out.
It's a title and a subtitle.
I'm not.
Getting
Heuvelmans wrote the foreword for Roy. In 1992, you're talking about a picture. You ready?
Yep.
Japanese television crew.
Leave it to the Japanese.
Yep.
Yeah.
They went in there into the Lake Tele region. That's also in Central Africa. It's also the middle of a very large rainforest. They were able to get an aerial shot from a helicopter.
Let's go.
Oh, that was smart.
It's very smart.
Drone shot, bitches.
Yeah. It showed something parting the waters of the lake as it went through the middle of the lake, and leaving a little bit of a low wake behind it.
Ooh.
This is often cited as the best evidence of a Mokele-Mbembe. It's the only video of what has been said to be a Mokele-Mbembe.
Or a big fish.
It doesn't sound very clear.
The video it shows something crossing the lake, right? But it's from a tremendous distance. They weren't right on top of the water at all. And it's very undefined. You don't really see. I mean, you're not literally looking. It's not like the classic surgeon's photo of Loch Ness, where it looks very much like a neck and a head of a dinosaur, which of course we now know is faked. But it's something alive, it's something real, it's something clearly moving. But I mean, is that a swimming Mokele-Mbembe with his neck out, a la Nessie? Maybe. Was it a crocodile? Maybe. Was it an elephant swimming across the lake with just his trunk out of the water,
Ooh.
which they do? Before you laugh, though, some people have actually shown videos. Some of Mokele-Mbembe believers have shown videos of what is pretty clearly an elephant's trunk and said, look, boom, dinosaur, done.
So googly eyes.
That's
Taped to the top of a dinosaur or elephant's trunk.
The elephant sat still. The wild elephant had no problem doing it.
Hey.
Or far more likely was it what the locals told them it was, which was two men in a canoe, the one in front standing up to pull the canoe across the lake. He said, yeah, we do that every day.
Yeah.
Just calm down, Japanese film crew. So you be the judge. No one knows. And it's right now to this day, it's like I said, almost always cited as the best photographic evidence of Mokele-Mbembe.
Well, what do you mean? No one knows. The locals know.
They're pretty sure. We're not going to listen to them.
Yeah.
I mean, have you not? Do you know us?
Oh, that's Greg. Oh, yeah.
Whiteman?
In his fucking canoe. That's cool.
Hey, hi.
What's up?
Folks are still looking today. In 2012, a guy named Stephen Mokele, he was literally some guy from Missouri with no scientific training, no zoological background, no experience going anywhere outside of the Ozarks, no foreign expedition experience whatsoever. He just heard about it and he said, I want to go find that.
Wow.
Literally.
He's got gumption.
I do. I like his gumption.
Can't
And so
blame him.
It's 2012. What do you do? What's different now?
Hey,
That
the,
wasn't.
the world's going to end.
Nope, it wasn't that.
Oh,
What's different in 2012 that wasn't around like the 80s?
GoPros.
Nope, you're getting
Internet.
a little warmer. The
Well,
internet.
yeah.
So he went on Kickstarter.
Yes.
And described his desire, his mission, and he said, I need $27,000 to do this.
Wow.
He got that and then some. Thank you, America.
Well, real recognizes real. What's
Yeah.
up?
In his description, he figured it wasn't going to be that hard. Quote, we don't necessarily expect to find concrete evidence of Mokele-Mbembe on the first expedition, but we believe there's a good chance during that initial 3 months that we will find hard evidence of his presence in the area if it is there. So he's basically saying, give us 3 months in Africa, pay for it. We're going to find you some strong evidence of Mokele-Mbembe.
Wow.
We might not bring back a body, but we'll prove it. A few months later, they returned from Africa, lacking any evidence whatsoever of the Mokele-Mbembe, whether it was concrete or otherwise, but they were successful in one thing, and that was spending all of the $30,000 that the Kickstarter campaign got them.
Well,
Hell yeah.
So,
Sure.
again, gumption, Stephen. Good job,
Yeah.
buddy. Hopefully, I say we find another one.
I say let's double it. $60,000.
6 months. You're twice as likely to find the Mokele-Mbembe by your logic. So, what is the likelihood of there being this kind of living dinosaur?
100%.
It would have to be this remnant population, a breedable population that survived whatever killed the meteor that killed every other dinosaur, and it would have to have been breeding for these last 65 million years.
Doomsday prepper
Maybe is a
dinos.
dinosaur doomsday prepper?
that were prepared
It's
for
possible.
whatever it was that killed them. They got it right.
Yeah.
And then these are their ancestors.
Okay, and it's done that in a way. It's held on to the present without being captured or killed or collected.
They
in
were
this entire
prepared.
time. The description of the Mokele-Mbembe living in the water and being kind of fat and sauropod with the long tail and more importantly the long neck that it raised out. It would sit in the water and raise its neck out and eat those fruits, those apple-like fruits. And plants on the river's edge. That's actually a completely outdated notion of how sauropod dinosaurs live. That was what people thought up until semi-recent times. Paleontologists maybe have known that's not true for a few decades. When did you realize that was bullshit, that sauropods don't live like that?
today.
Oh,
I did
okay
not
then.
know that they lived in the water.
They do not. No, they don't live like that old kind of way of being in swamps and living in the water and hanging out there.
I
They
mean-
absolutely they did not live like that. They lived on land. They lived in herds. They were actually fairly fast moving, especially for their
Were
weight.
they on Jurassic Park? Were they the
it was a
ones
little
running
better.
through
It was a
the-
little, yes, they had them a little closer to reality in
Yeah.
Jurassic Park. So scientists
See.
knew by the 80s and even the 70s, I think, but most people did not. So the descriptions back in the 1909 and 1911, 1913,
Yeah.
and on into the 80s by these amateurs, they described a dinosaur that never really existed. But it was an anachronism from the way we used to think these kinds of dinosaurs lived.
Well, sure, but could they not adapt to their current environment?
They could have, but it's suspicious
Yes.
that the thing they're just describing is how, when they were
What
first
we used
described,
to
is
think.
what we
Yeah.
thought they lived. It would have been much more impressive if they said, no, these were on land. They're pretty
shit.
fast. But also, by the way, those large sauropods, they couldn't actually lift their neck that high. They never could. So they were actually the more grazers. They weren't sitting in the water and lifting their neck way high like giraffes kind of to crane up there and get high fruit and whatnot.
Then why were the necks so long? You'd think long necks would be so they could do what giraffes do, right?
Yes, you might think that, but they weren't. Fighting, impressing the
See,
ladies.
100% of my dinosaur knowledge comes from children's books. I
Okay.
have to read at work, so it might
The
be
Land Before
sl-
Time.
Yeah, might be slightly outdated, and not accurate.
But they for sure did not hang out in swamps half submerged all the time like we used to think, and like the first descriptions. In fact, even the semi-current descriptions of Mokele-Mbembe have them.
I don't really know how we know anything about dinosaurs.
Yeah, what the fuck?
I'm not kidding.
Okay.
We just looked at a bunch of bones that we found in
Yeah.
the ground and was like, you know,
I mean, honestly, I don't believe any of it.
No, you think it's all bullshit. Dinosaurs didn't exist. Those
No.
buns.
Carrie
They made
calls
those buns
bullshit
up.
on dinosaurs.
You're
This
calling
is
bullshit
the
on
hottest
everything.
take, Carrie. I
I
love it.
believe they probably existed, but you know,
Do you? Carrie,
one,
probably.
one day
You're
they have scaly
Wow.
skin, and then the next day they had feathers, and then the next day they
It
didn't.
wasn't a
and
day
then-
called
later.
learning,
No,
Carrie.
it wasn't a day. Let me correct that misapprehension
I
that
also-
only you have.
I found, turns out either Brontosaurus or Diplodocus does not exist. One of them.
Brontosaurus
Did you hear about it?
is really the Apatosaurus.
Exactly. Okay, that's
So
what it was. Okay.
The animal exists, but it was
That's
named.
actually a baby version of it? or
No, it
something?
was named the Apatosaurus, and that was kind of forgotten. And they found bones, and they named that the Brontosaurus. And then later they found out, oh wait, that was the same animal. Who gets to name it first takes precedence. So Brontosaurus goes away, Apatosaurus retakes. It's the same animal. It's just they shouldn't have tried to rename it.
But then I heard something about Diplodocus actually being like a
Diplodocus.
young. Well, that's how children at my work pronounce it,
Diplodocus.
so that's how I pronounce it.
Okay, you should do that. I like yum yum. My tum tum hurt. Okay, talk like that.
They're just actually the baby versions of it.
No, that's not true.
Oh, okay.
You know why? Because your children are stupid.
No,
apparently.
that was just on a video about dinosaurs.
Okay.
They found new fossil evidence.
Oh, okay. And again, you realize.
But then there's still.
But again, I want to
there's
be
still
clear. You're hearing this from the
apparently-
kids. that
No,
you were-
it was still
okay.
like controversy between some scientists say no, it is separate species. Some scientists say no,
Oh.
they're similar.
I don't know for a fact, but the whole Brontosaurus Apatosaurus thing, I'm pretty sure of.
Oh,
The other stuff, I'm not so sure. Look at Carrie's like, oh, so maybe they don't exist. Your story's getting pretty fishy here. Meteor. Oh, I don't think
yeah.
so.
I'm skeptical. Honestly,
Dinosaur.
I'm skeptical about all of it.
You're scaring
I
me.
love it.
Right
Why?
Because we know dinosaurs existed. Let's take that up another time.
She's like, I don't know. It's all could be a dream.
We could be completely wrong.
No.
Yeah.
You
Not
don't
about
know.
the base. Yeah, I do know.
God could be real.
You can say that about anything.
I know I can't.
Oh my God. And that's why people think COVID is a hoax.
No, it
It's
isn't.
this kind of thinking that leads to that. Oh, it absolutely is.
We're talking about something that existed millions and millions of years ago that
No, but we
we
I'm talking
really
about-
don't have any way to confirm what we think we know.
well,
We confirmed that they existed, but that
Yes.
beyond
Yes.
anything else, is
Yeah.
kind of
it's ever in terms of their behavior and things like that. That's changing. Absolutely.
I know
like it
that's
did, but
my
still,
point.
I'm saying the basics that
You're making me sound like a wacko, and
'Cause
I'm really
you're sounding
not.
like a wacko.
No, I'm not.
a little bit. You
just
just said a
like-
minute ago they probably existed. That's
just the peppering of probably in there.
don't say the word
like
probably.
we would not notice.
We noticed, and that
Yeah.
is why you sound like a wacko. That's on you.
Like, what if I said I'll probably wake up tomorrow? That sounds creepy as
There's
fuck.
a chance that I won't. so
Okay, Carrie. We're gonna, this is you're out of the podcast now. So, what kind of dinosaur could this be? If it is indeed a dinosaur, the horn, the claws, the size, none of it points to anything we know about in the dinosaur fossil record that Gary thinks is not a thing. Remember, it was first described as being about as big as a hippo or elephant. It's not that big.
That's right.
Hippos get maybe
Yeah.
16 feet long at the most. Elephants get maybe 13 feet long at the most. They're much taller than hippos, of course. And that's not that big. It's certainly for a dinosaur, for a sauropod dinosaur, would be puny. The smallest sauropod dinosaur found today was about 50 feet, 15 meters long.
Wow.
So this would be a pygmy
Yeah.
sauropod if it existed. Again, you're right. It could have evolved. It could have pygmacized, but
Yeah.
it would be odd, and we have no fossil record of it doing so. Where do these stories come from? Let's go back. The videos from Lake Tile of kind of that maybe seeing an elephant swimming or maybe guys in a canoe, but they kind of suggest the possible origin for the supposed Mokele-Mbembe encounters, at least one anyway, is that it's just sheer mistaken identity for actual real animals. I mean, everybody talks like the Sasquatch. People have seen bears and thought they're
Yeah.
Sasquatches, and those are people who have backwoods experience or what have you. So local Africans can easily get things like that wrong. Everybody does everywhere. So
Chupacabra is just a mangy
Yeah.
coyote.
it could have been a crocodile, could have been an elephant, could have been a snake, all kinds of things could describe
Yeah.
something big. And how about this penchant for the Mokele-Mbembe to dig tunnels and live in these caves and tunnels in the riverbanks? Some of the more recent expeditions have gone and seen some tunnel-like things. One of them actually went there and looked at a tunnel and said, Mokele-Mbembe could be in there right now, and that's about it. They didn't try to go look for it. They didn't dig. They didn't send a film, a little camera in there snaking like they have done to the Egyptian pharaoh, the tombs. Nothing. Just might be there. Okay, wrap it up. Let's go. We got to get back to the States. And some have even said, oh yeah, they go in there and they like hibernate to the whole dry season. The whole part about them living in these caves sounds super suspiciously like a way to get them to exist, but excuse them for not being seen every goddamn day.
Yeah.
Because remember, the original report said they'd come out on land to go look for their food during even the daytime, but yet we have never had a verifiable account of them and never had a picture, etc., of them. So the river tunnel behavior sounds extremely made up and suspicious because it's so convenient.
Yeah.
That's just my take anyway. In fact, one American adventurer in the 70s was in Africa, and he was kind of poking around with one of the Mokele-Mbembe, and he pointed to some caves in the riverbank there, right? And he asked the locals what made those, and they said hippo, or they had the African word, the local dialect word for hippo, right? And he thought that must be also the word for dinosaur, because hippos, like dinosaurs, are large water inhabiting creatures. That's how
So they can only have one word.
a heaping helping of paternalism
Yeah.
is very common actually in the monster hunting world, Yeah. So it's convenient. It's
Yeah.
too convenient to be, I think. Others seemingly evidentiary finds have just been mistakes. Like Roy Mackle, he found these ancient African rock art, right? And he said, look at these long neck things. Those must be depicting ancient versions, from thousands of years ago of Mokele-Mbembes. Look, they were drawing the Mokele-Mbembe with this long neck.
They're in Africa.
Yeah, what else might those pictures have
Giraffes,
been?
bitch.
Giraffes, that's right,
I was like,
Roy.
I was gonna sound real dumb if they're like in fucking Asia. Wait, where are we again? Yeah.
In fact, as it turns out, they were indeed pictures of giraffes. So that's just stupidity. Mackle also cited the Sarouche drawn on the Ishtar Gate in Babylonia, from what was Babylonia, that was built by Nebuchadnezzar back in 575 BC. I'm sure you're familiar with the Ishtar Gate.
I've seen the movie Ishtar.
Okay, that's That's not bad. That's pretty close. This is a gate from Babylonia, as I mentioned, and it has three animals drawn multiple times: a lion, bull, and a mushrush. The mushrush was a dragon-like creature, and so some have said that since lions and bulls are real, these mushrushes must have also been real. Case closed. Wipe your hands. Do the little Vegas flip.
That's true because there's cats in Harry Potter and there's hippogriffs. Hippogriffs are
Hippogriffs
also real.
Yeah.
Must be real. So not only is this a logically lame argument, but the mushrush, in fact, looks absolutely nothing like the Mokele-Mbembe. It looks like it's not even all that dragon-like. I've seen, maybe we'll put a picture of it, but it's sort of, I don't know, it's got four legs, it's on four legs, its neck isn't particularly long, It looks sort of like a small dragon, I guess, sort of. And also, by the way, anybody notice that Babylonia was a long way from Central Africa, so I'm not sure how they knew about the Mokele-Mbembe to draw it on their gate.
Yeah, what does that have anything to
Yeah.
do with the Mokele-Mbembe?
Nothing whatsoever. But Roy Mackal and those like him have said, well, I don't know, that looks kind of like a dinosaur-ish, so, and it must be real because the lions and bulls, therefore Mokele-Mbembe is real. Running right over 24 steps to go to that and ignoring any logic whatsoever.
That's fun.
It is fun.
It's like a fun.
It
Yeah,
is fun.
I like that.
That's the core of, you know, sort of these supernatural writing is to do things like that, is to make these ludicrous connections with, you know, a complete lack of logic, but you have this little kernel of, oh, good point. God, I hadn't thought about that. That does look like a dinosaur. Okay. So are there actual mythological or oral traditions and antecedents of the Mokele-Mbembe in Africa? As we talked about in the relation to Bigfoot, well, of course there are. There are myths and legends you can point to and say, that sounds a little bit like what we think of this Mokele-Mbembe must look like. So, yeah, look, there are. I mean, every culture has its menagerie of imaginary beasts, right? Remember Roy Mackal went...
That sounds like a book title.
It does. I made it up.
Menagerie.
Remember, Roy Mackal went searching for the Mokele-Mbembe, and he brought back 3 more giant beasts in addition to it. So, yeah. And are we saying
Yeah.
all those things are alive? Well, maybe some people are. The more modern accounts, starting in the early 20th century, were all, pretty much always, they're based on that one of those, you know, someone told someone who heard about it from someone else who then, and that person finally, you know, wrote a letter to, or told someone who then wrote it up. So it's always, you know, a person I knew, or this, or something like that,
That's
or
really-
someone
Yeah.
told me.
See
That's
it
how
every
rumors
damn
are started.
Facebook.
That's exactly how myths are made. That's how they're born and they take shape and they live on. That's how we get Elvis being alive, or COVID-19
Yeah.
was a plot by the Chinese and Bill Gates. I mean, it's the same method for any nonsense story to be made real. That's how mythological creatures are invented. And all of the stories were some version of that in the early days, and frankly, they still are. When Americans like Mackal started going to the Congo in the 1980s, what they did was they figured they'd quiz the locals, right? So they brought books or flashcards with dinosaur pictures on them into the jungle with them, right? And they basically just point to like a brontosaurus, an apatosaurus, and say, "You ever seen one of those?" And then,
Look familiar?
you know, have you seen one? Do you know one? You know anyone who has seen one? Are they nearby? We'd love to find one. So Mackal's living stegosaurus, the Mbilu, that came from a single guy in Congo, one Congolese man who was looking at one of Mackal's books of dinosaurs, and he said, oh, look, that dinosaur right there, that looks something like this creature I heard about. It's called the Mbilu. That's it. So Mackal hears that, and voila, he's got this living dinosaur creature.
He didn't even say it's alive. He just said it's a creature that we have.
He said, like, I've seen one of those. I've seen something that looks like that. Was he lying? Was he messing with Mackal?
I was going to say, yeah.
Fuck with them.
or was it something a little more mercenary, a little more human nature? Because the other thing these intrepid searchers brought with them into the jungle was money.
Yeah.
Money for equipment, money for guides, money for stories. Soon there was kind of this little cottage industry helping monster hunters hunt monsters. So the smart answer to, hey, you ever seen one of those things?
Yeah.
Would be, yeah, and I can rent you a canoe, I can guide you,
Yeah.
I can...
Just make up some word that means pee pee poo 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 poo.
well, my uncle, he saw one when he was a kid. I'll go take you to him and talk to him. And the uncle's going to tell him a nice little story that they've already cooked up between them. This has been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
This technique continues into current times. The television show Monster Quest, it used exactly this technique in 2009 expedition, which was headed by an evangelist named William Gibbons. And they're on film. You can see them. They're showing these pictures to locals, these pictures of dinosaurs to locals. And Gibbons has done the same thing in 2 other expeditions he's led. On one of these, he kind of maybe inadvertently revealed what was going on. So it's 2001. Gibbons and crew are in a small town in the jungles of Cameroon, and one of the locals says, these must be the people looking for the dinosaur. And he related that, and he is almost a little guileless in that, yeah, Bill, shouldn't that give you a hint that what's happening here. So in 2003, though, he goes back, and again, he's in the outlands of Cameroon, and he's among these very primitive people who have never even seen a Westerner in his mind. And a villager presented himself to Gibbons and his group of people there, and he pointed to their picture of the Diplodocus and said the word Brontosaurus, right? Gibbons was flabbergasted. He's like, what? How could this guy know that word? This is crazy. This is the deepest, darkest Africa. They later found out the guy had seen and heard about that word on TV.
Yeah, fucking
Because
duh.
it's the 20th century, you shithead.
Yeah.
And that other dude had just been here like through last year for fucking river monsters. Like,
Yeah.
you've been on TV before, dude.
He knew what action meant. So today, Mokele-Mbembe hunting is kind of a pay-for-play tourist cottage industry in Central Africa and in those parts like Lake Tile and Lake Benguele, where they go back all the time. Officials in the villages of Lakula and around Lake Tile demand fees for access. They have fees for guides. They have people are outfitters for these expeditions. All this is fed by folks willing to point to a picture of dinosaur and say, "Hey, I've seen one. My uncle's seen one. My grandfather's seen one of those."
So it's that common that people are going
Yes.
there.
Common
and
enough
looking
where
for
they've
them.
learned if anybody comes in here with a book with dinosaurs, yes, they've seen one, and
yet-
you can make money from
And
them.
yet nobody's gotten a picture.
Yep.
I love it. My uncle's a guide, and my wife can do your hair and makeup. It's amazing. Let's go find this dinosaur.
Sometimes it gets kind of ugly. So in that 1992 Japanese expedition that made the videotape of the men in the canoe,
Yeah.
they were in the village of Boha, and they were actually more or less held hostage until they
Oh.
can come up with a $12,000 access fee.
Wow.
And which they did.
Yeah.
Had a wire for funds. I mean, you might do the same.
Yeah.
These guys got cash. In 1989, a British travel writer was visiting Boha, and he was speaking to the son of a village elder about the supposed sighting of Mokele-Mbembe, remembered by the Congolese zoologist named Marceline Agnagna. Remember that? He was asking about that. And he asked them, why had Marceline sworn to seeing a dinosaur? Why do you suppose that was true? And the villager said, "Don't you know? It's to bring idiots like you here and make a lot of money."
Well, that was given up too much.
Yeah, he probably didn't give up too much, but he told the truth.
He was
Yeah.
sick of it.
So if you go back to the beginning, in the late 1800s, people don't realize there was a major, major, major dinosaur hysteria. We're going to call it dinosteria, trademarked
Fuck yeah.
just now. The T-Rex had been found. Some of the big, long neck, massive beasts like the Brontosaurus/Apatosaurus, or even the bigger Diplodocus were found. Paleontologists were starting to present their skeletons in museums and exhibitions. In 1905, there were exhibitions in New York and London, and they were the toast of the town. So there was a major dinosaur hysteria at this time. So it's possible, if not likely, that this is what ignited that first kind of flurry that started really in 1909 with, what's his name, Hagenbeck. They were sort of feeding off of this or even taking advantage of it. And they first saw the Hagenbeck stories had them in Zimbabwe and Zambia, but then they quickly migrated north to much swampier, less explored lands where it could be a little more
Plausible.
plausible
The
that this
dinosaur.
huge dinosaur existed
Sure.
without being, seen every day. It was
Yeah.
undiscovered. And partly this is racism, though, too, and stupidity, because there's this idea that Africa was unchanged, especially Central Africa, that it was the exact same as it was millions and millions of years ago when the dinosaurs lived. This is, of course, nonsense. They had continental
Yeah.
drift, for God's sake. In fact, as recently as the Ice Age, what is now the huge rainforest of Central Africa were mostly savanna. Presumably not hospitable to how they describe this water-living Mokele-Mbembe,
Yeah.
which again would have to live through the Ice Age and then some.
Well, they could have migrated.
I suppose they could have. You got to answer for everything,
I
but then
love
again,
it.
you don't think dinosaurs exist.
Well,
so.
I mean,
The greatest answer for it all was they were never even there.
Probably. COVID-19 probably kills you, but hydroxychloroquine probably saves your life. This combination of a wrong impression of Africa, just physically, and this dinosaur hysteria, again, dinosteria, of the early 1900s kind of created this little interactive effect, and it gave rise to this hysteria or this tremendous interest. And in fact, and later would give Sherlock Holmes author A. Conan Doyle would write a book and publish in 1912 called The Lost World, which had surviving dinosaurs. He put it in South America because he knew that continent better than Africa. And then in 1918, Edgar Rice Burroughs wrote
No clue.
The Land That
Jurassic
Time
Park. Oh.
Forgot. Jurassic Park.
Land Before Time, starring
Wow.
Ducky.
Wow. We're absolutely keeping that in.
Littlefoot.
No, he did not write.
Oh, yeah.
That was decades later by Michael Crichton. He wrote it, and that was also about living dinosaurs, or it had living dinosaurs in it. And it almost became a little bit of a subgenre that many years later Dan Brown would take advantage of because people often confuse fiction for fact. So I'm not saying people believed in the dinosaur because of A. Conan Doyle, but certainly it helped feed this idea that maybe there's dinosaurs out there in Africa and they're living right now. I don't know. Anyway, that's very likely kind of his origin story. Today, sadly and ironically, the vast bulk of the effort to prove the existence of Mokele-Mbembe is, and even actually other prehistoric animals as well, is fueled by creationists.
Oh, yeah.
Oddly enough, this might seem weird. I mean, why do they care? There's no mention of a T-Rex or any other dinosaur or Noah's Ark, right? And that's pretty much the beginning of life for the creationists. That's 6,000 years ago. So it seems odd that, you'd think that dinosaurs, being what they were, they're big enough to have been mentioned in the Bible, maybe, if they were around at the time.
Well, they certainly would have been on Noah's Ark, right?
Maybe they're too big. They didn't make the cut. They
No,
were
just have to make a bigger ark.
I suppose. So
I don't think God would want him to exclude that God's creature, right?
I suppose. If you're wondering why, though, why have they taken this cause so vociferously? It's because that they think that if they can prove that creatures that science thinks no longer exist, they think that proves that evolutionary theory is wrong.
Like I say.
Pardon?
Just kidding.
Like what?
Like I say.
Oh, yeah.
How do they really know? They don't. They're skeptical
Yeah,
like I am.
You're probably waiting for the end of that sentence. That doesn't make any sense. It's not logical.
Yeah, that is logical. They're just dumb.
It's nonsense.
But logic's not like something they use a lot, so I don't blame them.
A writer named Darren Nash wrote, quote, "A sauropod or pterosaur that has survived to the present day would demonstrate nothing of the sort, of course.
Right.
It would just be a member of a lineage that has survived longer than we had previously thought." Mm-hmm. Again, science, if you're conducting science, it's changeable. Here's a hypothesis, you prove if it's right or not. You look at the evidence. The evidence says one thing, you go with that. If the evidence says that you're wrong and you change it, you change it. So, and these creationists, by the way, are the so-called young earthers. This belief in the Earth being 6,000 years ago, that the Earth is 6,000 years old because it says in the Bible is critical for them.
Right.
Sidebar: the Bible says nothing of the sort. But just FYI,
Really?
that was made up centuries later.
Oh.
It was made up by a monk who counted all the people mentioned in the Old Testament and went backwards based on presumed average lifespans, and he came up with 6,000.
Oh, that's interesting.
Methuselah begat blah blah, and
Right,
Ezekiel
yeah.
begat whatever. He just counted back and said, "Okay, we're about 6,000 years old." And
my
they said,
God.
"Boom, print it, go. Earth is 6,000 years old."
People are fucking dumb. You don't even know like where the basis of your dumb bullshit idea comes
They
from.
probably know that, but they still want to make the Earth 6,000
I
years
think you are
old.
putting too much faith.
I
in
think you are
these
too.
Idiots.
Some know it. How's that?
Like 3,
A
and they're like,
few, yeah.
fuck.
But I'll
They
bet you
just
the,
figured it out.
the vast majority probably thinks it literally says in the Bible.
Yeah, they're
Wow.
like, in page 64, it says in the Bible, it is 6,000 years old. And it's like, no, it doesn't, bitch.
The creationists have been trampling through the jungle for a while now, trying to prove the Mokele-Mbembe and other things too. Again, because that would prove evolution isn't real. They've come up with nothing. But worse yet, they've kind of insinuated themselves into the mainstream of the field. And that's really, really dangerous because they're not. They're proselytizers for the religion. They're not, they have zero training or experience. They have absolutely no expertise whatsoever. And by definition, they aren't scientists because they're not trying to seek the truth. They're trying to prove their predisposition, their prejudice.
Right. But are they building schools and churches while they're at it?
No, they're not.
And
They're not.
orphanages and
They've actually
trying
gone over
to
the-
convert people?
Remember the person who I said who didn't send a camera down and look down the tunnel that he said, we might be standing over a Mokele-Mbembe right now?
Yes.
Yeah, his excuse for it, people said, why didn't you go fucking look for it,
Yeah,
dipshit?
bitch.
Was, we just can't afford expensive gear. You have to go with what you can afford. It's hard to move around the jungle, so that's why we didn't have, a camera are shovels.
Or a light.
Just a pussy. That's what's
He's a
up.
little bitch, what he is. This guy's the William Gibbons, another guy named Kent Hovind. They're all just they're religious figures purely. I mean, they're literally televangelists or evangelists of some sort. That's all they are.
Blech.
But yet, like that failed 2001 BBC Discovery Channel documentary that had Gibbons as the leader of the expedition, and they presented him as an impartial expert in the field. And
Really?
That's sickening.
Huh.
The 2009 Monster Crush show, same thing. William Gibbons was presented, and his cohorts presented as impartial experts. They're nothing of the sort. I mean, if cryptozoology is going to take itself seriously as a science, they need to get those people out of it because
Yeah.
they're giving it a bad name. So I'm talking to you, cryptozoologist. So that's our
Where's
story.
Hoovelmans?
Hoovelmans is dead. That's where.
Oh, dang it.
I'm not sure you believe he exists.
There's no junior to take
No,
over for him?
I don't think so.
We're doomed.
I thought you know of anyway. By the way, Gibbons, just as an aside, Gibbons also came back with stories of his creationist explorers came back with, they reported a Bigfoot-like creature in Africa that they saw.
Of course.
They reported giant spiders 4 or 5 feet high, and they saw a UFO.
Oh.
So
Well, they just
these
had a
are our
grand old
friends.
time.
So, shots in the dark. Mokele-Mbembe, real or fake? Go, Aaron.
Absolutely real. Why not? Fuck it.
Carrie, I wait to see what your wacky answer is going to be.
Never
Fake.
real in the first
Fake.
I don't
place.
believe it. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not even here right now. You're not even talking to me. This is all an imagination.
We're all just ones and zeros in somebody's computer.
I think Carrie's taking peyote. So that's the story of the Mokele-Mbembe as it sits now. I'm sure people will continue looking. It's you know, it's sad to say, but people say the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. And of course the absence of evidence is evidence of absence. If you keep on looking for something with increasingly sophisticated tools and the areas where you're looking gets more and more explored, at some point you do have to say that's strong evidence that thing we're looking for isn't there and probably never was. So I that's one I hate that saying because absolutely.
Yeah.
If you don't find something, that's evidence that it's not there. That's
Yeah,
childish to
because-
say otherwise.
Evidence of apps, because like you say you're looking for somebody, you go to their house and there's
Yeah.
nothing there and all their shit's not there. You're not going to say they live there, right? Bitch. That's evidence of absence.
It's a
in way.
legalistic term.
Yeah.
Look at
And
it.
lawyers should not ever.
Like dinosaurs?
Lawyers don't think like people should think. They think like lawyers, and it's a different way of thinking.
You're not like a human.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not. It's sort of hyper logical and hyper, but it's not.
Yes.
It lacks common sense very often.
Yeah.
You
Well,
were-
on its face, it's true, but it's not absolutely true in every single situation, in
What?
every single instance.
What are you talking about?
Your whole evidence of
Oh.
absence
No,
is
on
not
its face, it's not
absence
true.
of evidence.
I'm saying the exact opposite of what you just said. I'm saying absence of evidence is evidence of absence. Depending on how you define evidence, which is what a lawyer would say. We're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So you think it is true and that they are a danger to humankind?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
No, I think they don't exist.
Okay. Again, as with all these things, I would love it if they did. I would gladly, proverbially eat crow if you came out with a video of one and brought it back with you. That would be the most amazing thing in the world. I want them to exist, but the plausibility of them existing is
Yeah.
zero.
That'd be cool.
Sadly, unfortunately. I hate to end on a downer. The downer is we don't have living dinosaurs, except, again, for birds, which Carrie doesn't believe either.
Chickens are
do.
pretty
And then the
cool.
next day they have feathers and they're birds. That's ridiculous. Chickens are dinosaurs. That's crazy. Dinosaurs couldn't have been that delicious, is Carrie's argument, right?
No.
Where can they find us, Carrie?
Weird World Podcast at gmail.com and on Facebook and Instagram and Patreon and Weird World Pod on Twitter.
Thank
Maybe.
you. Shut up. Okay, thank you. That's the story of the Mokele-Mbembe. We hope you enjoyed that. If you really, really believe that Mokele-Mbembe is true, write us, email us, tell us.
I
We'd
just
love
wanted-
to hear your argument.
I wanna
I just
see
want
your
to tell
evidence.
everybody for probably the last 20 years, our kids have heard you saying Mokele-Mbembe.
Oh, yeah,
It's in-
that was not
on
the
a
first
regular
time I've heard that
basis.
It
word.
is featured in my novel, Saving Monsters, which you can find right now
On Amazon.
Amazon, on Kindle. Another plug. That's 2 plugs in the same show.
Yep.
Damn. We're getting sleazy. All right. That's it.
Well, it's a bargain price.
It is.
So it's
All right.
not asking much.
No. Bye right now.
Okay. Goodbye,
Okay,
everybody.
bye.
Bye.